Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to get to a couple things here. So for the first question, if I could just ask all the panelists to just answer either yes or no. Otherwise, I'm not going to get to the other questions. So the question for everyone, yes or no, is, does your RTO or ISO have a designated body responsible for consumer input or advocacy? Just yes or no.
Yes.
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 I'll answer no to that.
You said no, Dr. Casey? Okay.
And I'd say yes.
Okay, so everyone was a yes except for Dr. Casey. Thank you. All right, so let me move on. This is more specific to my congressional district. In my congressional district, Jersey Central Power and Light, a subsidiary of First Energy, has proposed the Monmouth County Reliability Project, a 10-mile, 230-kilowatt transmission line and substation enhancement project. But a lot of questions have been raised about the necessity of the project for meeting its proposed goal of increasing reliability of the portion of the grid serving Monmouth County. I've raised these myself at public hearings. And this project was recommended by PJM's Transmission Expansion Advisory Committee and approved by its Board of Managers. So Mr. Glazer, assuming you understand what I asked, if not, I'll repeat it. Critics say that the process for approval of transmission projects lacks transparency, consumer advocate input, and true independent oversight. What can PJM do to address some of those concerns, if you will?
Ms. Pallone, I appreciate the question. I do not agree with the premise of it because these meetings are open, the material is published, and we don't just passively do that. We reach out to the consumer advocates. They're very active in our process, to the states as well, the BPU in New Jersey. So people are there. The problem comes in, then you go to a citing process months later, and the public is hearing about it for the first time. So maybe we need to do more, admittedly, to sort of reach out to the public on these things than we do, and that's a fair point that we will talk about to address some of those issues. We're not the citing authority here, but people do need to understand what the need is, and there probably is more we could do, to be honest.
So what you're saying to me is that it's not, you believe that there is opportunity for consumer input and oversight, but the problem is they just may not be aware of what those opportunities are.
Right, and in fairness, we need to do more in that area.
All right, well, you know, I appreciate that, and if we can work together on
Sure.
thinking about better ways of doing that, I certainly appreciate it. I just wanted to say, you know, I understand the need to prepare so there's enough electricity generation to cover the needs of the market, but I also worry that drastically overestimating load forecasts on a regular basis can lead to unnecessary build-out that ultimately has to be paid for by the ratepayers. And to that point, summer peak load forecasts for PJM's annual reliability planning have been consistently and significantly overestimated for the past 8 years, even as the actual use of electricity in my state has declined. So some projects that have been approved by PJM and have been constructed based on these, what I consider overly optimistic forecasts, have resulted in underutilized transmission lines. So Mr. Glazer, what checks and balances are in place to encourage PJM not to over-exaggerate forecasts?
Thank you for the question. This is a Gordian knot, because if you overestimate, consumers would pay too much. If you underestimate, you could run short and then be in a serious reliability problem. So it is a Gordian knot to find the right mix. It's been very tough over the past couple of years, not an excuse, but a reality, because we've seen the economy, the impacts of the recession, and we've seen energy efficiency. As the economy picks up, we're not seeing the load picking up, which is showing us that maybe there's some permanent energy efficiency changes, which are then affecting the load forecast. But it's kind of a difficult area to ping it exactly right, but we are trying to work very hard on getting this more sophisticated.
All right, let me just throw in one more thing. What can PJM do, in your opinion, to minimize transmission projects that are approved, built, and then underutilized, resulting in unnecessary high costs to ratepayers? Is there any recommendation you would have?
We We generally don't have a problem of underutilized transmission lines. They're pretty utilized at this point. As I talked about with Mr. Shimkus, we've got a situation where I can't get power into Chicago because the system is too tight. So generally, they're well utilized once they're built. This whole question of, do you build it just in time, or do you look forward a little bit and predict, is a very tough one, because it takes a couple of years to get a transmission line built. So it is difficult. We are trying to, if anything, we've canceled a whole bunch of transmission lines in response to, let's not overbuild the system. Sometimes I worry maybe we cancel too many, but in fact, we've canceled a bunch of lines. So we've tried to be responsive to the changing needs of the system, very much so.
You don't have any suggestions about trying to minimize that problem?
The way we do it is to continuously question.
You could answer that quickly, Mr. Glazer.
Yeah,
Time is
to
expired.
continuously question what we've done, to look at it year by year and cancel projects we don't need any longer.
Thank you.
Thank the